Hello, welcome. This is Bowman. This is the introduction video to my channel called Ethics Instead. And this video is going to tell you kind of my background, where I'm coming from, where I'm going, and what I'm going to be including in this channel. Alright, first and foremost, this channel is going to be a source of live streaming videos. I am someone who is going to be going out in the public within the Dallas-Fort Worth area and filming the police, lawyers, judges, sheriffs, bailiffs, council members, mayors, anything of this nature. And having a live streaming channel, of course, obviously helps protect people. Just so you know, I have already had a YouTube channel for about 3 years, and just to give you a little bit about my background, I primarily come from courtrooms. My experience is in courtrooms. So about just over 3 years ago, I was living in Hawaii, and I was growing 7 plants on my patio. At the time I didn't know what it was, but I had swollen submandibular salivary glands, and I wanted to experiment with creating medicinal products to treat that, because I don't entirely trust traditional medicine. And while on a week-long vacation to the island of Kauai, police raided my home. They were tipped off by somebody who wasn't happy with the way I was managing a property. They were kind of a disruptive tenant. I had to deal with it. So they called the police, and the police came over. One officer, I found this out later through discovery documents, took a smell of what's inside the house next door to mine, and I was a brand new grower. It was my first time. Didn't realize that these scents can travel through walls. But despite that, the police officer, with just the evidence of his sense of smell, was able to go to a judge and get a house raiding arrest warrant. So I got a phone call from my friends who also live there, who said, "Hey, the police are over here and they're in your house." And thus began my adventures into courtrooms. I didn't know how to defend myself in a courtroom. I didn't know how to be a lawyer or any of that at the time. And over the course of the next 3 years, I developed that ability. I developed a good 95% of it within a few months, because it's not all that difficult if you're so inclined and motivated. Basically, they charged me with a year in jail and $3,000 fine. And through investigating online and coming into contact with the right people and arriving at the right solution, I was able to, with no lawyer, apply the appropriate public and political pressure through at least a dozen hearings to get all of the charges dismissed. Now, these were cops who came in armed, broke the door, stole about $5,000 worth of property, and it took me about 10 hours to clean up the mess that they left, even though they tried to be not as messy as they could have been. And when they put those charges through the prosecutor's office and the judges, believe me, that system, especially if you're a white man on the island, the big island of Hawaii, they very much want those charges to stick. They very much want you to take a plea. They very much want you in the system, and they very much want to be in control of all of that. Despite of their desires, I was able to convince them, apparently, that it was in their best interest to dismiss all the charges after 14 months, which they did. During these 14 months, I don't know how many details I want to get into the story. I obviously have proof of this. But basically, in the beginning, I started to just go, before I knew any of this I was using the Constitution to get to a jury trial. That's all I was saying. I was turning down all of their plea offers. They eventually offered me a plea deal down from, keep in mind, 1 year of jail, $3,000 fine, no jail, no community service, no probation, just a $150 fine. I had to sign my name to a guilty plea and make 6 phone calls once per weekend for 6 weeks, called supervised release, kind of a babysitting for adults. That was their final and third plea deal offer before they finally believed me that I really meant it when they should stop giving them to me, because I was going to deny them all on my way to the jury. I was convinced that I could convince a jury to dismiss all the charges, find me not guilty. I always tried to be my own lawyer and not need a lawyer. Despite that, they forced not one, not two, but 3 lawyers onto me through the system, and I had to get rid of all 3 of them, which I did. I'm not saying all these things to brag. I'm saying all these things to point to the power of what this channel is pointing to and is all about pointing at, and that is using the Socratic method of investigation to apply this public and political pressure to these authoritarians who believe that persecuting innocent people they claim to presume innocent, of non-violent victimless criminal charges is wrong, is ethically wrong, is logically wrong. So that's kind of the quick background story. During that time also, I was arrested for a free speech arrest during a civil disobedience act by about a dozen people in downtown Hilo, Hawaii, and I was not violent whatsoever. I was just saying things out loud to the crowd and to the police, kind of making fun of them. They didn't like that too much, and after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from the best of my memory, they arrested me. I went to my first hearing and asked if the prosecution was actually intending on fully prosecuting these charges to the full extent of the law. They said they were, and so I immediately began in on challenging the jurisdiction of the court. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, it may sound a little funny to you, but you'll, if you stick around, soon come to realize the power of that and how I explain all that and how it will make perfect sense to you. Your standards, not mine. I boldly claim that. 3 months later, all of those charges were dismissed. I had another traffic case, and after 3 years, that went to trial, that they steamrolled through. I got a cop to admit that he didn't want to participate in this hearing anymore. He was not liking the fact that I was giving him information that was letting him know that he was very much in the wrong. And being a police officer of Pacific Islander descent, he wanted no part of it. Of course, the prosecutor was objecting up a storm to me educating this police officer, but they failed to prevent me from embarrassing that court for 3 years straight. They failed to arrest me on bench warrants when I decided I didn't want to deal with them for a while and just didn't show up. They failed to arrest me again when they demanded that I pay them $250 before I got a new court hearing so that I could proceed with getting this over in my life. And after they fined me a total of $1,250 for 3 nonviolent victimless traffic tickets over a vehicle that was not mine while I was doing a favor for someone else, they inflicted no consequence to me whatsoever. I moved from Hawaii to Texas recently, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and was able to get a new driver's license without having to pay these $1,200 fine to Hawaii court. The time that I spent over probably in all 3 cases, plus a few civil actions I was involved in and succeeded at least 24 hearings. That's a conservative effort or amount. But yeah, the time that I spent doing all that was invaluable. The police raiding my house was one of the best things to ever happen to me. It was very much one of the biggest blessings in disguise I've ever experienced in my life. I'm just over 40 years old now, and I wouldn't take it back for anything. The education that I gained was invaluable. It was so valuable that it changed my entire life. It has protected me in ways that I could not even possibly describe. And I have found out through friends who have had friends in the lawyer's office, both the public defenders and the prosecutors, and inside the police force, that I am untouchable, meaning they want nothing to do with me. They do not want me in their jails whatsoever. They stopped threatening me with contempt, even though I would challenge their authority and jurisdiction. They stopped threatening me with contempt altogether, and they soon started saying, we'll just have you removed from the courtroom and rule in your absence. And then eventually, when I was embarrassing that tactic enough, they stopped threatening me altogether and just let me speak. They would let me have the microphone however I wanted, and then they would take their turn and pretend as if I said nothing. I would respond to the fact that they were treating me as if I didn't exist and that I wasn't saying anything at all, and they would ignore that as well and proceed as if I had said nothing whatsoever and just steamrolled through. These are all just interesting experiences that I had in Hawaii and what led me to become as effective as I am in courtrooms. Now, all of that background is just the last 3 years, but that's basically what built up my abilities to do what I do using the Socratic method of investigation. Now, if you can imagine, if you came across something so powerful that the might of the United States government did not want to prosecute you, when they did, they lost by their own judges who do not like you and are very much against you and very, very biased for the prosecution, obviously. When you have that kind of power, you very much want to share it because you become safe. You become somebody they don't want anything to do with and will run from. I have been cop watching before there, and upon arriving the scene of a traffic ticket and pointing my cell phone at them, within 30 seconds, 3 cop cars and 6 officers left the scene within, 30 seconds. They wanted nothing to do with any of that camera. So obviously I'm trying to help other people develop this skill and in the process help make just the average general public aware that by using logic and ethics and observable actual reality, we are able to confront those in power with a conversation that they cannot participate in out of embarrassment, out of the fact that it'll destroy their illusion that they protect us and provide a service to us. And it will point out that they are nothing but a might makes right type tyranny of domestic terrorism. Now, that's just my opinion. Keep in mind, I need no political affiliation. I do not identify with any particular group. I simply use the Socratic method of investigation and logic and ethics and actual reality, and that is all. That is all I need. That helps me avoid any kind of conversations that might be of a, confrontational nature with people who may be Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or any of these religious groups or any group whatsoever. So the introduction to this video, I just wanted to give that a little bit of background. I've also been an officer in the United States Air Force, and I don't really want to share exactly what I was doing. I'll just say that the first year of my quote-unquote service was in pilot training and flight school at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma. And I just don't really feel it's necessary to go further into that. I've also been in business and, done well, and then went on a 6-year working vacation to Hawaii. And like I said, I've now moved back to the mainland in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Alright, that's enough of my background. I tried to make that as quick as possible. Just know that in this channel I'm going to be doing all takes. All videos will be uploaded from one take and without much editing at all, unless there's some kind of disruption or loud noise that would be annoying. So during the time I got online, got into groups, and I've helped hundreds, plural at a minimum, to develop the skills necessary to defend themselves from courtrooms, not only in the quote-unquote USA, but in European countries, in Australia and Canada and other places like this in the Western world. My other YouTube channel was developed. The reason why I'm not using it, even though it has, somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 subscribers, is because in order for me to defend myself as a white man in Hawaii, where no other human being on that island was coming from the direction I was, I had to assume a politically assertive stance of, let's call it enthusiastic self-defense, motivated self-defense. It was a bit aggressive, you could say, and I did it on purpose as a strictly defensive political tool to save my life, to save my freedom, to save my physical health. Alright, I was threatened by cops that they would beat me when I get out of jail. You can't really poke the bear when have such an overwhelming power over you. When you are so unprotected, unfinanced, I was got reduced to a paycheck to paycheck existence like so many are, because I was blacklisted on a government website that lists the charges without giving specifics or the results that all charges were dismissed. So they have a way of coercing people, obviously on multiple levels. On one level was to economically try and hurt people. So here I am back on the mainland, gainfully employed and well over full time and making a good living. And I'm now in the company of many people who also have the drive to resist authoritarians and their opinions of their justifications of rule. Again, against innocent people over nonviolent victimless criminal charges. Alright, I'm not out there defending people who have blatant evidence that they've murdered somebody or raped somebody or, assault with intent to, cause great bodily injury. I'm not doing any of that. Nobody who, drives drunk and hurts somebody. I'm not interested in helping people who actually commit those crimes. I'm interested in helping men, women, and children of all ages and ethnicities and demographics to successfully defend themselves without the aid of bar members. So that's kind of, again, the quick background. Hopefully, 15 minutes. Again, I'm trying to make this quick. What you can expect from this channel is primarily it's going to be a cop watching channel. Primarily I'm going to be out there on the streets pointing cameras at cops, 360 cameras, quadcopter cameras, not in an aggressive way. My style is to be calm and laughing, smiling, friendly, professional, respectful. In all times and in all ways, I will presume that the films that I am making are being seen by juries in courtrooms. Under no circumstance will I lose my cool, will I, do things like flip off a cop or call them a name or insult them or anything like that. I mean, I will act in defense of somebody if I see them actively attacking someone, but I doubt that will happen, and if it does, it would be a special exception. So I'm just laying down the groundwork here of what you can expect. I will at all times remain a professional. My goal is to do nothing but use the Socratic method of investigation. I believe the pen is mightier than the sword. I believe that spoken word is more powerful than the jail cell, and I believe that the live streaming camera is more powerful than the gun. I will also be providing classes online through a Discord server called Socratic Tactics. I'll put a link in the description. If you'd like to join that Discord server, I quite often talk to friends there and other people who want to learn this. I will be offering free classes there, group classes, with a scheduled time and date to help others, new people to this, learn exactly how to defend themselves this effectively. I'm also going to be, using this channel as self-defense because I'm not just going to be filming police. I'm going to be confronting commissioners, council members, lawyers, judges, wherever I am able to come into contact with them, sheriff, police, highway patrolmen, bailiffs, authority of all kind. And the live streaming is what protects me while I do so, because if I was to do this 30 years ago, I would just get a threat to leave, and if not, I would be beaten and jailed. We have technology now that can protect us, and I plan on using it, and that's what this channel is about. I hopefully will set an example to increase the professionalism level of all people who attempt these types of endeavors. I'm also going to be taking live phone calls during weekly podcasts that are uncensored. I'm also going to occasionally be reading out of books, just in case someone wants to hear me reading a book to them for whatever reason. I have several books that I want to read that I haven't, and I'm going to go through them through this YouTube channel as well. This pretty much concludes my introduction video to this channel. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to always try to make my communications quick, efficient. I choose every word carefully. I try my best not to ramble. I don't have the most fascinating video to go along with a lot of my videos. Most of them are audio, but that's okay. I'm going to put a link to the best downloader to extract an MP3 file from YouTube videos. So if you don't want to just sit and watch, you can download my videos in MP3 format, put them on your cell phone. They'll take up very little space, and you can listen to them while you're driving or while you're waiting in line or whatever else you're doing, where you can listen to videos and try and make your time more productive. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that my efforts are worthy of your attention. You'll never find me or hear me asking to subscribe, like, or share, because I feel that if I am putting out a high enough quality product, that these things tend to go viral on their own, and that it's pretty much self-marketing. It sells itself. I'm not looking to make any kind of money. I think that's really unrealistic at this point. That might become more realistic in the future, but at this point, not so much. I have had clients pay me like $50 an hour. I try to keep it a conservative amount with me working full-time currently and trying to have a social life at the same time, to be able to block off a schedule of my time on a schedule and help someone one-on-one. You know, I can't just do that for free. I've been doing this for 3 years and put in countless hours for free, and just gotten to the point where I'm so familiar with it. Like I feel so confident, so experienced in doing it, engaging where someone is and saying the words that will help them the best according to their performance and how they feel they can be best helped according to how they learn best. These are all the things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in making this channel one that I can reach out to other YouTube content creators that I greatly respect and want to team up with. Let me in part close this video by naming some people that have been a great assistance or influence on me, who I feel are also striving to reach this professional level. In no particular order, they would be the YouTube channel GLCAPPS, as in GL Caps, and on that YouTube channel you will find a playlist. One is called Arraignment Foundations. That's been very helpful. Another YouTube content creator that's been very helpful is Mark Stevens, Mark with a C. You'll find countless videos on his channel of the proof of the effectiveness that he's been able to accomplish using the exact same Socratic method I'm speaking of, primarily against the IRS, but also against many nonviolent victimless criminal charges. A YouTube content creator named Rick W. has been successfully fighting family and divorce court corruption and the removal of children and finances from men in those courts, where it's so unfair. I think both sexes would agree how unfair it is on men in those courtrooms. I've also a great admirer of a YouTube channel called Battousai, Battousai, a man named Philip Turner. He's in Texas as well. He's been able to accomplish great things with filming cops on the street. He's even got a court appeal decision won that has set some precedent for giving people the ability to film in public, film the police even in public from public areas without being harassed, detained, exploited, or arrested for sure, let alone beaten or jailed. I'm sure I'm leaving many out. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Larkin Rose might be a bit aggressive for some, but I feel his principles are sound. His intentions are pure. He simply wants the needless suffering of other human beings to stop as much as possible, and for common sense and reason to prevail in this day and age. I'm also a fan of an ex-cop, an ex-military member named Rick. He has had the YouTube channel called Think Like a Cop, the rest of the story, but because he keeps getting strikes from YouTube, he has created another YouTube channel recently called, and they call that a clue, or they call that a clue, I believe is what it's called. Very informative and helping me understand the police officer's perspective in dangerous situations and in these filming situations with the internet as it is. Alright, I think I'm hopefully able to keep this under 25 minutes. I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say in the introduction. I hope you got something out of this, and I look forward to making future videos and talking with you in the future.